Hello, my name is Judy. Welcome to my channel. I enjoy travel, history, and finding out how people live. A large part of finding out how people live involves visiting their homes, although that isn't always possible. So when I can, I stay in an apartment hotel, which is as close as I can get. I also collect central markets, although I will shop in supermarkets, street markets, and local markets. Join me today while we look at bed and board here on The Armchair Traveler. Florence, Italy is notoriously busy, bustling with hotels, restaurants, shops, markets, and despite the narrow streets, a surprising number of cars, trucks, and buses. It's called the birthplace of the Renaissance and is chock-a-block with things to do and places to stay and eat. I did a considerable amount of research before settling on the Hotel Florent, which should have been only about a mile or so from the main train station, provided I didn't make any wrong turns. Unfortunately, I made the mistake of asking for directions at the local tourist information agency, and while they did get me to the far side of the Arno River, they had me turn in exactly the wrong direction on this street, which meant I doubled the length of my walk before I found this rather modest six-story building on an unassuming street. What was inside was mostly in the hotel's favor, with one glaring exception. The building was 6 stories tall, but it had no elevator. I knew that when I made the reservation and had asked for a ground floor apartment, which to us would be on the first floor. Somehow that request never made it from the booking agency to the hotel, and I ended up on the top floor. Fortunately for me, the very accommodating desk clerk carried my suitcase up for me. I'm not sure I could have managed it on my own. He offered to move me to a lower floor 2 days later, but by then I was unpacked and settled in, and I didn't want to pack up only to unpack and pack out again, so I stayed where I was. I found the hotel after I finally got there to be quite pleasant. On the plus side, it had the best, most efficient kitchen I had encountered so far on this trip. There was one odd feature. The stovetop or hob was gas. That part was fine. There was a pilot light to actually start the flame. However, you needed to know to manually turn the gas on or off. I suspect if you're frightened of gas, you would never turn it on, and it just might be safer. On the left, you can see the view from my apartment window, which was quite pretty. I collect big old city markets, and this is one of my favorites. It comes with 2 distinct views, and there's almost as much to see on the outside, generally heavily occupied by temporary tents, as there is on the inside. The Mercato is a 2-level affair designed by the same architect responsible for the Galleria Vittorio Emanuele II, an upscale shopping mall in Milan. The market was built from 1870 to 1874, when Florence was still capital of Italy. With cast iron and glass all around, it looks quite modern, although it does have distinct classical features. The windows, which you can see on the top right photo, let in plenty of light, supplemented, of course, by modern electrical fixtures. If you have plenty of time and desire, you can find anything you need and probably a lot more. The ground floor houses everything from butchers to bakers to fishmongers to specialized shops like one featuring limoncello, a liqueur made by soaking lemon zest in neutral grain alcohol for a month or more. The result is a thick, sweet dessert cordial with an intense lemon flavor. Most of the nicer and pricier restaurants, but not all, are upstairs. Stands in the market are generally quite specialized. This is not one-stop shopping. You're going to have to walk around some to find everything you want, and while you're doing it, you're probably going to see things that you don't want. There are butchers, fishmongers, bakeries, and many specialized shops. In the left 2 photos, you can see the offerings from just one of the butcher shops. This one was pretty close to the doors and somewhat more expensive than deeper inside the building. Here featuring a cut required for steak Florentine. It's basically a porterhouse steak. Notice how it's displayed standing on the bone? That's because to make it, you grill it standing up, at least in the beginning. On the top right is a pasta shop, and bottom right is a fishmonger cleaning a fish to order for a waiting customer. The market isn't organized by kind of product sold, but by how much the space holder is willing to pay in rent. Those who pay the most are closest to the entryways, where presumably they get the most business, but they also charge the highest prices. If you're new here and either just want to window shop or look around for something specific, you're going to have to walk around a good bit. My hip was already bothering me this day, the day before I had climbed the Leaning Tower of Pisa, and that probably explains it. So I needed a place to sit down. For lunch, I ended up downstairs in the market area in a sit-down place called the Virginia Cafe. The day I visited, they were using non-recyclable but grease-proof plastic dishes. I believe they normally use real china, but when I arrived, the dishwasher must have been on the fritz. I read a very critical review later on, mostly because of the plastic plate, although the utensils were metal. I think it was most unfair, and for what the place claimed to be, it was pretty good. The waiter spoke at least 3 other languages besides Italian that I heard, and he was quite kind. I ordered what turned out to be a very spicy Italian beef stew. On the bottom of the bowl, whole black peppercorns, a lot of them, revealed why it was so spicy. I also ordered eggplant parmesan. By this time, I was several weeks in on this trip and I was sick of pasta. The wine swallowed, but that's about all I can say for it. The Virginia Cafe is still there, doing business, and gets very good reviews. I enjoyed it. Thank you for joining me today to see a 4-star hotel, the Central Market, and for the lunch. Come back next time for another adventure here on The Armchair Traveler. If you think this content is interesting or useful, please like, share, and subscribe. This will help the channel grow. Travel content often involves a lot of history, and history can be really word-heavy, heavy enough that the details often don't make it into a video blog. If you care to dig deeper, you can visit my regular blog on WordPress, where you'll find deep dives, travel tips, reviews, warnings, and the nuts and bolts on how to travel safely and conveniently. If you'd like to keep up with my posts, you can follow me on Twitter. The addresses are on your screen.